Good evening, everybody. This is Gene, and I'm finally back with a comic review. The comic review I will be doing is of Batgirl Issue 32, right? Which I believe came out in February. If you've been following my videos, then you know that I've had my life go a little topsy-turvy in the past month or so. So I didn't get this out at the time I wanted to, but better late than never. As the saying goes. So here's a review. This review, of course, is not of all the pages of the comic. I had to, download these offline and play with the PDF files a bit, right? But again, you can, easily go online and find the full issue to compare and contrast. So this is the cover. This might be the variant. I don't know. I really don't pay attention to what's the variant and what's the main cover much anymore. This cover is not terrible. It's not awful. I like the colors, although I gotta admit, I do wish that there was maybe some dark reds or black. It would look a little more dynamic, a little more visual punch. And I love the line art. It's very smooth. I just find the poses very odd. That's just me. I just find the posing just really odd. But the art is actually the best part of this comic. The writing is the worst. The writing's the worst part. The art is the best part. So let me get on to the review itself. So our creative team here is Marguerite Scott. I believe his name is Peter Pelletier. Their names appear again a few pages later. I'll read them out. Rapmund and Belair. I believe it's Jordan or Jordy Belair. So Scott's the writer. Pelletier, I believe, is the penciler. I believe Rapmund is the inker, and Belair is the colorist, I believe. But we'll see inside. So here's the cover. And now, this is actually the last page of issue 31. And there's a reason why I put this in there, although it's not officially part of issue 32 itself, right? I want to establish the last several panels here, right? This is Bard, who's supposed to be the head of security. If you don't know or don't remember, the storyline basically going through issue 31 and 32 is that this head of security, Bard, who apparently had worked with Gotham's criminals to try to get Jim Gordon removed as commissioner, and apparently did for a brief time. He says later on in the issue that he briefly was the police commissioner. But basically, he went through some underhanded means to get Jim Gordon removed as the commissioner for some reason he thought was a good reason, and now he's sort of trying to make up for it. So him and Batgirl have this sort of uneasy alliance, and they're both trying to keep this Latina politician alive, and they're trying to keep her safe from a sniper who has marked her for death. That's basically what the story is through issue 31 and 32. And these panels here that I'm going to show come from issue 31, the end of issue 31. And there's a reason why I highlight these. So we see here Bard is injured. Babs beat him up earlier in probably issue 30, because in 31, or in another storyline, in 31, he's still injured. So she beat him up previously because of what he had done, again, regarding Jim Gordon. But we see here that he's at the elevator, and here is our killer. Here's the sniper who's hunting the politician lady down. And we see that, he's about to get on the elevator with the injured head of security. So it's setting up, for that classic, alone in the room, alone in the elevator with the killer scenario, right? This is how issue 31 ended. It even says, to be continued. Now, here's how issue 32 begins. With this lady. With this lady here. Right, yelling about, where's Barbara Gordon? I think her name in the story is Izzy or something. But more importantly, and we see Batgirl here, talking about something. It's really inconsequential. But anyway, here she is. But more importantly, how in the world did this guy get out of the elevator? There is no connection between the last page that I just showed, this page here, right? These last, 1, 2, 3, 4 panels establishing that he's about to get into an elevator with the sniper, with the killer that they're all looking for. And then coming here. There's no explanation ever in this issue, and I know because I read it twice. There is never an explanation explaining how in the world he got out of there. He's not injured. He's not any worse for wear. Nothing to indicate he even knew that he was in an elevator with the very killer he is looking for. Doesn't seem to indicate that he was ever in danger. I'm honestly of the opinion that Marguerite Scott did not remember how she ended issue 31 and then just started issue 32 from a completely different point in place and time in the story, because there is no connection between those two events at all. Nowhere in this issue is it ever explained how you end on that note, being in the elevator with the killer, and then start here as if that end note never happened. So anyway, Babs is again, she's now crawling through the vents here. And I'm going to point out something several times throughout this review, which is the villain's stated goal. The villain's stated goal throughout this issue is always the same, right? Here's the villain's stated goal. Cormorant, how are you going to stop Cormorant, who's the villain, from killing Alejo, who's the politician, on live television? That's the goal. That's the goal that is going to be reiterated and restated several times throughout this issue, throughout these pages. Keep that in mind and compare that goal to the way Cormorant, again, the sniper, the killer, behaves. If there is one term I could describe for this issue when it comes to the writing, it is idiot ball. Everyone holds the idiot ball. Cormorant holds the idiot ball. Barbara holds the idiot ball. Even the politician woman holds the idiot ball. The way they behave does not match their stated intentions. You will see this as I go through the review more and more. Anyhow, so next important thing is that that Babs appears. Well, I should say Batgirl appears, and she establishes that they're both on the same side, that she's there to protect Alejo just like him. Right, there's a little conversation here about Jim Gordon. Batgirl says she doesn't take sides in politics, which I will give this book credit. It's not an SJW book. It's a poorly written book with plot holes the size of the Grand Canyon, but it is not an SJW title. While it does use politics as a backdrop, and there is a Latina politician, yes, I do think she is meant to be a sort of real-life stand-in or reference to Ocasio-Cortez, or whatever her name is here in New York City. I don't pay much attention to politics. But it's no more egregious than anything you would see on, like, Law and Order, right? She's just a character. No political positions or social positions are preached in this issue, or in the last issue, which I can appreciate. Again, it's just using politics as a backdrop to the story. It's not an SJW book. It's not a political story. It's just a poorly written one that just happens to have great art. I especially love these close-ups here. Love this close-up here, even though Babs' mouth looks very funny here. But just the intensity. The artist here did great close-ups. And stuff like this usually irritates me, the background having nothing in it but color. But these close-ups are so good, I can forgive it. So we have the Old Enemies finale, and the creative team here is Marguerite Scott, who's the writer. I'm sorry, Marguerite, I'm not trying to be mean. I am not, but This is a poorly written story. If I were her, I would have scrapped it and started over again. Too many plot holes, too many issues, too many people acting out of character. Now you have I think I called him Peter earlier. It's Paul Pelletier, who's the penciler. Norm Rapmund, who's the inker. Jordi Belair, who's the colorist. I have a few others. And World Design is the letterer. Lupacino and McCraig are the cover artist. Derek Chu did the variant. Brittany Zolher is the editor. Brittany, were you asleep when you read this? You should have done better. Jamie Rich, same to you. Why didn't you notice these glaring issues with these plot holes? And then it mentions here that Batman was created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger. So there's our creative team for this book. Especially keep Marguerite Scott in mind, because this issue's a stinker. I'm sorry. Maybe she's done better. Maybe this is just that one bad story that even great writers have. But this is not a good issue. She wrote a terrible issue here. I've got to be honest. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be as objective as I can. She just did not write a good story. Anyway, continuing. So they're having a conversation here. Just further establishes that they don't really get along here. Come on, clear up. Babs talks about how his leg hurts pretty much because of his own mistakes, basically, being on the wrong side and whatnot. And so establishes here that they both want to stop Cormorant, right? And keep in mind here, who my research says, this is Batgirl talking, who my research says was pretty high up in the military. Keep that in mind. Was pretty high up in the military. And this was a factoid about Cormorant that was established in issue 31. That he had been military before becoming a mercenary. Now keep this in mind. Military, ex-military, has stated that he wants to kill this politician woman. Right? Now again, I gotta point out these wonderful close-ups. I love that sort of, shock in his eyes. Basically, he mentions here that he was the police commissioner for a time. Babs claps back, saying that he didn't earn it. He gets this sort of shocked look in his face, saying that he wasn't expecting her to offer help. And then I gotta admit, I love this side eye she gives him. This close up just screams, if looks could kill, this man would be dead. And that's what I like about it. I love intense facial expressions in comics. You close up, really get in on that facial expression. So again, the art in this book is what's going to save it from getting an F. I'll tell you the letter grade later, but it's not an F. And the art's the reason why. The art is too good to give this issue an F. The writing is not. But the art is beautiful. So she just says that they need to find Cormorant first. Sorry. Now we have Cormorant here, who's somewhere in the building. Looks like some, a supply closet or whatever. Now keep in mind here, this is probably the most frustrating part of this issue for me. Keep this in mind. So he's changing out of his workman disguise, which again, we never get an explanation of how in the world he was never noticed by the head of security, or why he didn't take the opportunity when they were in the elevator to kill the man or whatnot. But we see, we see him in armor. He has this big gun. Now keep this in mind, right? He's quite obviously stalking Batgirl. He has a clear as day shot right here. Now, spoilers, she lives. She lives, but if I had written this, guess what? We're having a funeral. We're having a funeral next issue, and Cassie Cain's back in the costume as Batgirl. You know why? Because after this series of panels here, to me, establish the fact that If you're going to write Batgirl this damn dumb, she needs to be killed. Okay? Let's establish something again. He's military. She's supposed to be an experienced crime fighter. Now, what distracts her? Her phone. Her phone distracts her. Right? Looks like my algorithm's malfunctioning. Who patches their site during the day? Yes, because that's exactly what we need in a dark story about, a ex-military sniper and mercenary hunting down a politician, right? And Barbara, or rather say Batgirl, and the head of security having an uneasy alliance trying to find this man and keep her safe. What we need is IT talk. And a cutesy-wootsy emblem. Because you always have to have a cutesy-wootsy emblem. Keep in mind, first of all, how in the hell is this even attached to her? I'm going to assume that there's some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Either she has a lot of iron in her blood, or there's some sort of magnetic, there we go, fibers in the costume that are attracting the phone and keeping it attached to her. Regardless, being distracted by your phone and allowing the villain to get this close to you should be rewarded with the death of the character. This is dumb. This is ridiculous on both counts. Both on her count for being that easily distracted and on his count for not taking the kill shot. Why? He's supposed to be military. Why wouldn't he kill her? Nothing was established in issue 31 saying that he couldn't kill Batgirl. He wasn't told to spare anybody. I know, I read that issue. Right? And more importantly on Bab's part, because here's the thing, it's not like Mr. Military Sniper Man here did something like kill the lights or create some sort of noise or distraction or use the smoke bomb or flashbang grenade or anything of that sort, where he could actually use military tactics to, disorient Batgirl, I should say, or anyone else, right? There's no thinking here. That's what bugs me about this. Why wouldn't he do something to create a diversion, to create a distraction, to get behind her? He literally just gets in behind her because she's a damned idiot who's distracted by her phone. She's acting like somebody, walking in the street, not paying attention to where they're going. And in any other book, it would get her killed. Anyway, these two guys hear the shots go off. They get here too late. Babs is dead. Although we see no blood. We see no wounds, no injuries, but she's dead. Right? Then this guy, again, it's established that he's a killer. He shoots these two security people dead. As you can see from the blood spray, right? He is definitely not using a dart gun or a tranquilizer gun. He's using a regular standard pistol. Although it's a pretty dang big one. Gotta admit that. Right? And then, next one is, right? He gets to the politician woman. Right, and again, I want to establish again, what's this man's motivation? What is Cormorant's motivation? Luciana, or is it Luciana? I think it's Luciana. Luciana Alejo. Nice to finally kill you. Again, it's established that he's here to murder her. That's his stated purpose. That's his goal. That is the outcome they are trying to prevent. So again, why is he doing things like not killing Barbara Gordon? Why is he not killing Batgirl? Right, and then you have this poor fool shooting at him. It doesn't really do anything. He punches Bard, head of security, in the face. Right, and then, right, now even Alejo has got the idiot ball because now she's just needlessly brave. Needlessly brave with no explanation. Okay, the story never establishes that she has some sort of law enforcement or military background where you can at least try to somewhat justify being this crazy. No, she just runs up to him, beating him on the chest. You want me, bird boy? Come in. And then he throws her down. Right? You think you're better than me? Yes. Yes, I do. I'm going to say it right here. I do believe that at least for this issue, I could be a better writer than Marguerite Scott. Why? Because I actually understand the storytelling conventions. And I can see the plot holes here. There are many, many, many a plot hole. I don't understand how she missed them. I don't understand how the editor, what was it, Beller? Something like that. I'll have to check it again. Holzer? I think it's Holzer. Missed them. Because this is going to be some of the poorest writing I've seen out of a mainstream comic in a while. I mean, I'll admit it's better than, say, Goddess Mode or certain other issues of DC Comics, but the writing in this issue is by no means good. Okay, this is a stinker. I just gotta admit it. It's a stinker. Now, look here. Right, we saw a few pages earlier that this gun fires bullets. Right? Cormorant shot those 2 security guards dead. But look here. Now all of a sudden it fires laser beams. Because that's certainly not how bullets are displayed as being fired in comic books. That's a laser beam blast. So apparently this gun, I guess, has a different mode where it can fire lasers, or maybe, just maybe, the artist, as much as I like them in this, forgot how to visually animate, or draw, I should say, bullets as opposed to a laser beam. Right? So anyway, again, let's establish this again, right? All of Gotham gets to watch you die tonight. Probably the best ratings they've had in years. This is his goal, to kill her, to murder her on TV. Yet, everything he's done so far, like spare him for some reason, does not match his goal. And we know that he's willing to take lives. He killed the 2 security guards earlier. But he only shoots him in the leg with a laser beam. And as I mentioned earlier, he didn't actually kill Barbara, even though he had a perfect chance to. Why? If his goal is to murder this woman, why in the world is he leaving the very people who are meant to protect her alive? Why? Why? Anyway, so Babs comes back into the fight, no worse for wear, and she really should be worse for wear because he did shoot her, as you'll see later. Apparently, she has access to exploding batarangs. Why in the world would Bruce give her exploding batarangs? I don't know. But now this guy's doing his best Revolver Ocelot impersonation, right? And then he says here, I killed you. And here's Babs' whack-as-all-hell explanation for how she lived. Sorry, old man. You may have knocked me out for a bit, but you forgot to check for blood. Honey, there was no blood to check for. I saw that panel. You're not the only one who can buy body armor. Dear Marguerite Scott, that is a weak explanation. Okay? The earlier panel clearly showed that the gun was leveled at Barbara's head. She has absolutely no covering on her head. These little Halloween ears, bat ears thing is not proper covering, or even anywhere near proper covering, right, for body armor around the head. Barbara's hair is by no means strong enough or thick enough to serve as some sort of natural defense against a bullet flying at the back of her skull. More importantly, why in the hell did the guy who stated that he thought he killed her, right? He thought he killed her. It's going to shoot her in the back of her shoulder here, right? Back of her shoulder. Not the back of her head. Back of her shoulder, which apparently is not bleeding. I mean, apparently it got through. It looks like we see a little bit of skin there at the bottom of the hole, but apparently was not enough to do any damage because she can cock her arm back. And first of all, it's just miraculously gone. It's here. Then you see the same area. Looks like it's gone, but she can miraculously cock her arm back with no pain, apparently. She should not be able to do that. This entire side of her body here, right, pretty much should be lame. She should be like feeling like burning fiery pain right now because she still got shot. Okay, and she's wearing what is quite obviously a very, thin layer of clothing. This is a very thin, skin tight outfit. It's not like his armor here. His armor at least has the sort of visual excuse of being very thick and looking very bulky, so you can sort of justify, as you saw pages earlier, when Bard fires like 3 shots at him and they hit him in the chest and he doesn't seem affected. At least visually, you can justify it and say, well, look how thick his armor is, right? Because it actually looks thick. Barbara doesn't have that defense. She doesn't have that justification of wearing very thick tactical armor. This is quite obviously a very thin, skin-tight costume. Now, could there be some sort of body armor or some sort of metal or something woven into the costume? Possible. I mean, after all, she is associated with Bruce Wayne, and Bruce is filthy rich and all that. But still, that is not enough justification, visually or storyline-wise, to explain why in the world she's no worse for wear after getting shot in the shoulder. First of all, again, why the hell did he spare her? He had a chance to shoot her right in the back of the head. 2, even though he apparently did shoot her, she should not be able to move her arm. This makes no sense. And this is what I mean when I say that everybody, at least everyone important in this damned issue, is holding the idiot ball. If they weren't holding the idiot ball, she'd be dead, he'd be getting away with the crime, and Bard would be dead also. And I understand that you can't end a story like this on a down note, like everybody being killed. But if you don't want to end it on that down note, then you need to write the story properly so that its internal logic will lead to a positive ending. When your internal logic, right, leads to everyone should be dead, and that's not your stated purpose, you have a problem. Right now, all of a sudden he wants to negotiate. He takes her hostage. Again, it's been established throughout this entire issue that his goal is to kill her, but now all of a sudden he wants to negotiate with no stated reason as to why his mind suddenly changed. Right? So he says that, he'll leave her alive. If Babs takes a step closer, she'll die. Of course, again, she's needlessly brave. Again, just a regular politician. She is needlessly brave here. Saying, take him back, girl. He came to kill me. He'll do it. He'll do it no matter what you promise. Save the others. Take him out. Again, words coming from a politician who has no reason to say them. Idiot ball. Anyway, Babs starts trying to negotiate, asking if he wants to make a deal. He's got to put down the knife. Then there's more talk. He immediately goes back. Apparently he remembered his purpose and goes back to I'll kill her mode. Enough talking. She dies now and you're nip. And then he gets shot in the head. And finally, someone does something right. Bard finally makes himself useful in this story after being needlessly spared for no reason. And shoots the guy, again, who was planning to kill her. Who could have easily killed her. And killed him. And what does Babs do? How does Babs thank him for being the unintentional hero of the story? She punches him in the face. She just knocks him out cold, saying that it wasn't his call. And then she says that it's not her first hostage negotiation, and that with his death now she can't interrogate him, and that his employer will just send someone else. And perhaps that would all be true if this story had been written differently, if it had a more coherent internal logic, but it doesn't. So her complaints fall flat. I agree with him on this one. I think I saved your life and you're still so dead set against me you can't even say thank you. You were never going to give me a second chance, were you? Since Babs can't actually come up with a good answer to what he's saying, she just says that she thought that he changed, that he was different, and the hero of the story, the woman that the book is named after, sulks off like a teenager. In case you can't tell, I am terribly irritated. Then we have the end of the book, which is that politician lady here, who apparently has a case of heroism, says that she will not be intimidated by violence. Damn it, clear up. There we go. Swayed by corruption or cowed by fear. The people of Gotham deserve better than that, and that if elected to serve them, she'll bring her unbreakable spirit to Washington. And that's pretty much where the story ends. Again, my issue with this is that no one's behavior makes sense. The internal logic makes no sense. Cormorant's a hired killer. He was hired to kill her. He has several chances to kill her, doesn't take it. Has several chances to kill the head of security, doesn't take it. Has a clear as day point-blank shot at Batgirl's head, doesn't take it. It's never established whether in issue 31 or in issue 32, this one, why he spares her. He just does. He just does for some odd reason. That's what irritates me about this. She is needlessly heroic. What should have happened is that she should have responded the way any regular person would, with abject fear and terror. Now, if she responds the way a regular person does, and then comes out and makes this, bold, hero statement here, I won't be swayed by corruption and fear and all this stuff, right? That is much more plausible than her being a hero throughout this story the entire time and being dumb enough to do things like attack her attempted killer, or to be taken hostage and then tell Batgirl to attack said attempted murderer, right, even at the possible cost of her own life. Again, the internal logic and the characterization make no sense. I don't understand why Batgirl, right, who's supposed to be the same Batgirl who was shot in Killing Joke, was paralyzed for years, was the head of the Birds of Prey, etc., etc., etc. She even says in the previous panels that I read that it's not her first hostage negotiation, so she's playing to experience. So she's supposed to be an experienced crime fighter, but she behaves in this manner. It does not make any flipping sense. I'm almost at the 33-minute mark, so I'll just sum this up very briefly as the story is poorly written. The story has plot holes the size of the Grand Canyon. The story gets an F. The art gets a B+. Altogether, the story, the product, the finished product itself, when you combine the two, gets a D-. That's my review. That's it. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know. Have a nice night.